Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is one of the most intriguing long-running manga series to date, constantly reinventing itself with each story part. These installments differ vastly in setting, tone, cast, and visuals, as the 1880s vampire soap opera gradually evolves into a battle of psychics in the present day. To add another layer of confusion, the series introduces a couple of new thematic elements with each story part, so there's a lot to unpack here for sure. A quick spoiler warning. JoJo's is a series full of many unexpected plot twists that are best experienced without spoiling. If there's any series you don't want to be spoiled on, it's JoJo's. I will be covering parts 1 to 6 in this video, since part 7 is a separate story continuity, only given the JoJo's namesake a few chapters in, and part 8 builds off of that story. According to the author of the series, Hirohiko Araki, JoJo's is an ode to life and a celebration of humanity. Let's have a look at every reason this quote is not only correct, but essential to understanding the story on a deeper level. It is established from the first major death of the series, the death of George Joestar, that the spirit of the family we are following is passed down from one noble heart to the next.
We have lost much this night. A nobleman's soul has been taken from the world.
You're wrong! All that was good in that man, he passed it along to Jonathan, every bit of it!
With the imagery of a burning flame, like passing down a torch. Every single time a protagonist is permanently killed off, be it a Joestar or even one of their allies, they make a major discovery or a rescue that thrusts the story forward in their dying breath. For example, Zeppeli powers up Jonathan, Jonathan saves his pregnant wife, Caesar delivers Wamu's ring to Joseph, Avdol saves Polnareff, Kakyoin discovers the secret of Dio's stand, and Abakio reveals the boss's past. Each of these characters bravely confronts their certain demise, entrusting the future to their friends with their brilliant flames passed on. If I had to describe the protagonistic force in a single word, it would be courageous. The torch cannot burn forever in one person's hand. Characters must risk fear, uncertainty, and the inevitability of death. It is fate. This is where the series' villains spawn from. They bear the will of evil, an evil originating from Cars and inspiring the followers of Dio, with Dio being the overall main antagonist. The main villains of JoJo are not courageous. They are fearful and cowardly. Their ultimate goals are escapism. They want to escape the obstacles we all must face as human beings. Dio wants to live forever and also wishes to dominate over everyone in a twisted power fantasy. Cars wishes to dispose of his weaknesses, as well as every individual that he fears, so that he can live without risking getting hurt, with a false ideal of perfection. Kira wants to live a non-suspected normal life, while being a serial killer at the same time. He never wants to get caught. Diavolo wants to escape his own fate, developing an ability around it. Pucci wants to create a world where everyone knows their fate, so that there are no uncertainties, to remove the fear that comes with living. Being the poetic series that it is, JoJo kills every single main villain in an ironic way that openly mocks their escapist fantasies. In his relentless pursuit, Cars does get to become perfect and unkillable, but his life is now a boring and lonesome hell, and he wishes he can die but cannot, so his mind enters a vegetative state. Kira does not get caught, but his sins catch up to him, and he is sent to a place where he will always feel restless by one of his victims. Diavolo does escape from his own fate, but in exchange gets to experience every other fate, every other death imaginable. Pucci does make the world less scary and uncertain, but only because his own existence is erased from it. As for Dio, the high and mighty king of the world, his ashes are scattered across the desert, and he becomes as insignificant as anyone else after losing to his own power, which another person had. In the admittedly better revision of Part 3, the 1993 OVA series, his ashes are returned to the ocean from which they were pulled out of, bookending that story part. What the series is trying to tell us with the heroic actions of our protagonists and ironic deaths of our antagonists is that we should embrace being alive. Life can suck, and we're all gonna die, but we need to accept that, not challenge it. What really matters is how we choose to live our short and beautiful lives, and how our actions influence others. Jonathan Joestar may have died, but everything brave and heroic he did manifested in the form of the Speedwagon Foundation, which continues to be the living manifestation of their goodwill. The ripples of the dead can be felt in the hearts of the living, and the fire of humanity will be passed on from one generation to the next. And that, friends, is the main theme of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is also why you should like and subscribe to my channel, because I want people to understand the series for what it is, and not the tunnel vision that outsiders of the series are presented with stupid memes. And you might be thinking that I am wrapping this video up, but no, the series has a lot to unpack. One of my favorite secondary themes that the show presents is how to embrace how different we all are. With a rotating cast, every story part, we get to see all sorts of personalities show courage in very different ways. Jonathan Joestar was raised in a noble family. He's kind, brave, proud, fair, honest, loyal, and relentless in the pursuit of justice. Basically ideal, but his grandson Joseph is the opposite. He's an eccentric genius and a cheater. He will employ the most crazy schemes imaginable to avoid a fair fight. But his many layers of deception and strategy exist to achieve the same end result. He wants to vanquish evil. To demonstrate this, there's a scene in part 2 which mirrors George's ring being stolen. Smokey runs off with Joseph's wallet. Just like George Joestar, Joseph Joestar tells the authorities the lie that he gave the stolen object as a gift because of the kind spirit that was passed down to him. Whether you're a noble gentleman, a troublemaking wildcard, a stone-cold badass, or a timid yet hot-headed student, anyone can carry out justice as long as they feel righteousness in their hearts. Greatness can be found in men, women, children, and even animals in this series. Anyone can fulfill their role in destiny. And that brings us to the final theme of JoJo I wish to discuss, the theme of fate. When it comes to fate in storytelling, many let out an audible groan, because who wants to believe that they lack free will? But fate in JoJo is not the same as free will. It is a willingness to do what is right and just when you face a point in life when you have the option of taking the easy way out. The best illustration of fate in JoJo is the scene where the gang departs from the church and turns traitor. Fugo rejects the call of fate and runs away. The rest of the gang accepts confronting the promise of death written in the Rolling Stones when they set out to pursue the boss. But in doing so, they take on a much greater fate and conquer a much greater evil. Antonio Zeppeli knew from the precognitive abilities of Hamon that he was going to die. In that moment, he had the option of running away. However, he chose to accept the call of fate because that is the only destiny that he would choose, because that's the person he is. Those who walk the path of pride receive the sun's guidance, and those with selfish ambitions self-destruct. And that is the meaning of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is truly a masterpiece.